If you're thinking about getting the Sony ZV-1F or wondering if it's still a good choice in 2025, then stick around because I will be breaking down everything you need to know after using it for 2 years. This is the Sony ZV-1F vlogging camera. I chose this camera for 2 reasons. The first reason why I chose this camera is because I needed an upgrade in quality from my iPhone 11. Now, don't get me wrong, the quality on my iPhone 11 is not that bad. However, I wanted something that was a little bit more crisp, more sharp, more smooth when it came to recording and filming. And the other main reason why I needed a camera and why I chose this camera is because of the storage issues that I also had on my phone. So definitely having a camera is an upgrade from my iPhone 11 because I always found myself recording on my phone, editing on my phone, and sometimes uploading from my phone. Because doing all of that, I always ran out of storage. But with a camera, you can honestly never run out of storage because you always have these little fellas right here to always pop into your camera, and you can buy these in different sizes. So this one is the 128, and I believe these can go all the way up to a 1 TB. And honestly, my iPhone cannot do that because my iPhone is also a 128, but having an SD card for a camera definitely holds more storage than the storage that comes with the phone. So those are the main 2 reasons why I chose this camera, is because of the quality and because of the storage space. I use my camera for my YouTube content. As you guys already know, I am a lifestyle content creator, and having this camera is definitely a must-have as a YouTuber, as a content creator, because the quality, which I will get into soon, the quality of this camera is very, very great. It's a lot better than my iPhone 11, which, like I said, is the reason why I chose this camera. So first, we're going to be getting into the build quality and the design of this camera. So when it comes to the build quality of this camera, as you can see, it's very small and compact. It's also lightweight, which is another thing that I love about this camera, because a lot of digital cameras can be very, very heavy, especially some that have like the lens attached to it and maybe some other things attached to it. But this camera is very small, very lightweight, very compact. You can take it anywhere with you. It's very travel friendly. It can fit in your purse, in your backpack, in your pocket. And I have definitely had this camera in literally everything. Like, this has been in a lot of my purses, a lot of my backpacks, but it's very small, very compact, travel size. You can take it any and everywhere with you. And then when it comes to the design of this camera, as you can tell, it has a very sleek design. Like, I got mine in white. They also have it available in black, but I did get mine in white. But as you can see, the design of this camera is very, very sleek. And this right here did not come with the camera. This is a cold shoe adapter that I got from Amazon. But the design of this camera, you guys, is really, really sleek. I really love this camera so much, and it holds up pretty well. Like, I've had this camera for 2 years. It's been through thick and thin. Like, it has been through a lot. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have dropped this camera a few times, maybe 3 times since I've had it so far. I have dropped this camera a few times. It does have a few scratches on it. However, they really didn't affect the camera like at all. Like, it still works well. It still functions well. But overall, the design and build quality of this camera is really, really good. Like I said, it's small, it's compact. You can take it any and everywhere with you. and it's just overall really pretty, really sleek. And I really decided to get this in white because of the silver lens that you can see. I think the silver on the white looks really, really pretty versus the black being on the black. But like I said, the build and the design of this camera is really, really excellent. So next we're going to be getting into the video and the image quality of this camera, which is mainly one of the reasons why I upgraded to this camera. And when I tell you guys the video and the image quality of this camera is so good, it is literally so good. Like, this camera is beginner friendly. The quality of the image and the video is just everything. Like, it's crisp, it's clear. You're not really gonna have like a lot of issues with the background, because I know when you record on your phone and possibly some other devices, you can possibly have like a fuzzy background. Like right now, I'm recording on my iPad because I'm talking about my camera. So you can tell right now the quality of my iPad is not up to par, because it does have like a little bit of a fuzzy background. But when it comes to this camera, you will not see that at all. Like, it's going to be clear, it's going to be sharp, it's going to be focused. And when it comes to the pictures are always crisp. Now, one thing I will tell you, when it comes to taking pictures with this camera, you want to make sure that you have the product showcase setting off, because if you don't have that setting off and you go to take a picture and you step back from the camera, it's going to be a little bit blurry until you can get it clear. Because when it comes to the product showcasing, when you hold up an item to the lens, to the camera, it's going to focus on that item and it basically blurs out the background. So if you have that setting or that feature switched to on when you're taking a picture, it's going to be fuzzy, it's going to be blurry. So you want to make sure when you're taking pictures, do not have your product showcasing on, because it's going to make your picture fuzzy, it's going to make it blurry. But outside of that, the picture and video quality of this camera is really, really excellent. Like I said, it's clear, it's sharp, it's focused. And I'll even put in a few video clips and a few pictures that I've taken on this camera, just so you guys can see what the quality of that looks like. Another thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to the image and video quality of this camera is definitely the lighting. Now, as you can tell right now, I am recording at night in a low lit area. So I have a light over here, I have that light, that lamp on over there. But when it comes to this camera and recording in low lit areas or well lit areas, this camera does not come to play. Like, this camera brings the natural light. If you're recording in the daytime, obviously you don't really need a light, but this camera's lighting is really, really well. So the only time I really use a light with my camera is if I'm recording at night or if I'm recording in a low lit area. So the lighting on this camera is so good. Even when you're recording outside, it doesn't really get dark. Like, you know how if you were to walk outside and record in the sun or in a very well lit area, sometimes it may go dark, But if you're facing the right direction, this camera will definitely bring you that natural lighting. So there will be no need for filters, no need for any type of color grading, none of that on your videos, because this camera has natural lighting, and that's really a good thing. Also, when it comes to product showcasing, I know I shared that whenever you're taking pictures with this camera, to make sure that that feature is turned off. But when it comes time for you to use that feature, obviously you want to have it on. But when it comes to the product showcasing feature, it really does a good job at focusing on either you or on the item that you're showing, and it also has face tracking abilities as well. So if you're moving in front of the camera, it will kind of like pan over or shift over a little bit to where you are. That way it keeps the focus on you, so it will just kind of pan over slightly and kind of keep the focus on you, which is another good thing about this camera. But also when it comes to the product showcasing, if you're showing a product to the camera, if you put it like directly right in front of the lens, it will focus on nothing else but that product. And then when you remove that product, it will focus right back on you. That's another thing that I really love about this camera when it comes to focusing on products, focusing on you, whatever it is that you're showing to the camera. If you have the product showcase feature on, it will absolutely focus on that product. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the audio performance. So when it comes to this camera right here, you guys, you do not need an external mic. Now, if you want to have one just to increase your audio, you can absolutely invest in one. But I'm telling you guys right now, you do not need an external mic with this camera, because the built-in microphone is exceptional. It is great. Like, you do not need an external mic. This camera, when it comes to audio, it literally picks up everything. If you're talking, it's going to pick that up and then some. It's going to make your voice sound really sharp, really loud, really clear. And when it also comes to editing, you don't even have to like jack up the volume on your video when you're editing, because this camera picks up the audio perfectly. So like I said, you don't really need an external mic for this camera. However, if you want to get one, you absolutely can, because it does have a place right here for you to plug in an external mic. But you don't need one, because the audio on this mic is everything. And a lot of people think that the external mic is up here. Well, it's really not, because this up here is really like the speaker. So whenever you're like playing back your footage, it will like the sound will come from up here. But just make sure that you also keep on this windscreen. It does come with the camera, not this one. A white one came with this one, obviously. I just bought this one just to have an extra one. But make sure you always have a windscreen over the speaker, because if you're recording outside or if you're recording somewhere and just like a lot of loud sound comes through, this blocks it out. And that's very, very important when it comes to the audio of this camera. You don't want too much extra background noise in your video, because like I said, the audio, the built-in microphone in this camera picks up everything. So make sure you always have on your windscreen. The next thing we're going to talk about is connectivity and workflow. So when it comes to transferring files from this camera, it's really easy to do if you have the right tools. So I do have an SD card reader right here. I got this from Best Buy, and I believe it was about $40, because it is an actual authentic Apple product. So it did cost a little bit, but this is a very important piece of equipment to have, because without this, you will not be able to get any of your files. So this is definitely one of your best friends when it comes to your camera. But just get this SD card reader, and then whenever you're done filming, you can just take your SD card out of your camera. You can pop it into here, and then you can put this into your computer. I do have a MacBook and it only has USB-C ports, but I believe other computers probably have a USB-C port as well. I only bought this one because it's Apple product. I have only Apple products, so it made the most sense to buy this. But you can always find an SD card reader anywhere, anything that's compatible with whatever computer or device that you have. But it's very easy to transfer files with the SD card reader. I know that you can transfer files from the camera directly to your phone or to your iPad through their app. However, I have never tried that. I have always had this SD card reader because I plug this into my computer and then I airdrop the files to my iPad so I can edit. But I think it's easier to use it with the SD card reader instead of trying to transfer from the camera to the app. I just kind of think that's a little bit inconvenient. However, you can transfer the files however you feel like whatever works for you. But personally for me, the SD card reader works the best. And also, when it comes to recording on this camera, recording is smooth sailing as well. Like, you're never gonna have any hiccups unless your battery is dying, which we will talk about that next. But while you're recording, you will not have any hiccups with this. However long you're recording a video or a segment for, or even if you're live streaming, which I have not tried, but I know this camera probably can perform well while you're live streaming. So whenever you're recording, you will not have any hiccups while recording. So you will be able to record your content straight through. You will be able to live stream straight through without any hiccups. Next, we're going to talk about battery life and charging your camera. So when it comes to the battery life of the Sony ZV-1F, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but the battery life for this camera is terrible. Okay, I never thought I would say terrible and Sony ZV-1F in the same sentence in the same video out of my mouth. Like, never thought that would happen. But the battery life of this camera is terrible. Like, you really cannot go too long with recording on this camera before it overheats, or before your battery would die, or before you would need to charge your camera or put in a new battery. I will say you can notice like when your battery is dying. So if you guys can see that right there, you can see that I have a fully charged battery in my camera right now. So if you guys can see, it does have 4 bars. So if bars start disappearing, that means your battery is dying. So if 1 bar goes away, it's probably at 75%. If 2 go away, it's at 50. If 3 go away, it's at 25. And you don't want that last bar to go away, especially if you're recording. So whenever it comes to recording videos, or even if you're vlogging, if you're out and about recording videos, always have extra batteries on you. Always have them with you while you're recording, because you don't want your video to stop on you in the middle of you recording. Like, you don't want your camera to stop on you in the middle of you recording. So always have extra batteries. But it's always good to have extra batteries, because you never know when your camera might die, or when your battery might die, or when your battery might start running out of juice. You never know. So you always want to have extra batteries on you, because the battery life of this camera is terrible. And I will say, I don't actually charge my camera ever at all. I've never really had a need to because I always have my batteries charged, and without the battery your camera will not function, like your camera will not turn on. So I don't really know how well the camera really charges because I don't charge my camera. I charge my batteries and I pop my batteries into my camera. However, the battery life is terrible, but if you always have extra batteries with you, you will be good. So just make sure that you carry extra batteries with you all the time. So next we're going to talk about how easy it is to use this camera and how you can access the features of this camera. So starting off with the features. The features of this camera are really great. You can really access them two ways. You can access them manually on the camera, and you can access them on the screen as well. So as you can see, this camera does have that articulating flip screen, and it does flip. When it comes to the features of this camera, you can access them manually on the camera and also on the screen. So as you can see, I don't have my card in here at the moment, but you can access the record button on the screen when it's in picture mode. The picture button is also on the screen. A few other things you can access on the screen is also the zoom feature, and then this is like the playback feature. Oh, well, it's not letting me do it because I don't have my card in here. But it does have the playback feature right there. So whenever you record a clip, take a picture, you can either hit it right here on the camera. Yeah, you can either hit it right here on the camera, or you can hit it right here on the screen and it'll take you straight to your files. And then also you have a timer right here on the screen. This right here is the product showcase feature. So right now, as you can see, mine is off. And then this right here are the filters. And then this up here, it's just all of these different features on the screen. So you can press it if you don't want that on the screen to turn it off, or you can press it to have it on. I always keep mine on just because I want to be able to see all of the different features that's on my screen. And then of course you can access them manually over here. So you do have the delete button, which is only on the camera, so it's not anywhere on the screen. If you're trying to delete a video file or delete a picture, you can only do that on the camera. And then it does have this dial right here. Whenever you're going through like your files, you can just use this to go through your files. And then this button right here, this is for when you're going through your settings, and if you want to select something, you can just move this dial and then press the button in the middle to select it. Then on the camera itself, you do have the on and off button. You have the different modes right here. So you have like picture mode, you have video mode, and you also have slow and quick mode recording. I don't use S and Q, I just use picture and video, but you do have that right here. And then you also have the record button, you have the picture button, you also have the zoom in and the zoom out dial as well. And then you have the background defocus and focus button. I try my hardest not to mess with this button because sometimes if you press it, sometimes it's just hard to get that good setting back. So I don't really mess with it that much, but this is the focus and defocus button. And then on the side, you do have the external port. So right here, this can be for like an external mic. So as you can see, if you want to have one, you don't really need one, but if you want to have one, you can put it right there. And then this port right here is for those USB-C ports. And then this one right here is just a regular HDMI port. So if you need to charge your camera, if you need to plug your camera into your computer to go live, that's what these ports are for on the side. And then on the bottom you do have this screw in area for a tripod. And then over here you do have this latch where you just slide to open, and then your battery goes right here, and then your SD card goes right there. So this camera does have a lot of features, and I mainly just walk through those features with you guys. But this camera is very easy to use as well. Like I just walked through all of the features. You can record easily, you can take a picture easily, you can turn the camera on and off easily, you can switch into different modes easily. As you can tell, it's a lot of easy things that you can do with this camera. Now we're going to be getting into the only two bad things that I don't like about this camera, and that's overheating and the battery life. So since I already talked about the battery life, I'm really going to be talking about the overheating. So if you're recording on your camera for long periods of time, it will overheat. That is something that a lot of users with this camera complain about, and also a lot of things that people were saying about this camera when I was doing my research. And I have found that to be true over these last 2 years. So this camera does overheat. That's why I said it's best to keep batteries on you, because when this camera overheats, that also means that your battery is dying, your battery is running out of juice. So you have to keep extra batteries on you at all times, because this camera will overheat. So if you're recording anything more than 15 minutes, which I know might sound bad, it does overheat. And I'm being honest with you guys, I'm telling y'all the truth. This camera does overheat if you record on it for too long. That's why you gotta keep your backup batteries, okay? But other than that, other than the overheating, you also have the bad battery life. That's why I say you gotta keep, if y'all don't learn anything else when it comes to these camera videos, y'all better keep y'all some batteries on y'all, okay? Because you gonna need these batteries. You gonna need them, because you don't want your camera dying on you in the middle of you recording a video. So you want to keep extra batteries on you, because if your camera dies and you don't have extra batteries, what you gonna do? You gonna be looking mighty sad when you cannot record good content on your camera. So just make sure to keep batteries on you, because the battery life does suck. And I will say this also, when you buy this camera, only one battery comes with this camera, and that's this battery right here. So this is the only battery that you're going to get once you buy this camera. So that's why it's very important to buy replacement batteries, to have extra batteries on deck, because you don't want your camera cutting off on you in the middle of you recording a video. So always keep extra batteries on you, because again, this camera will overheat if you record on it for too long. But other than those two things, this is a really great camera overall. Other than the overheating and the bad battery life, this is a really great camera. Like, all of the good features that I've mentioned about this camera are very great. And this is also a great beginner's camera, especially if you're switching from a phone to a camera for the very first time. I highly recommend that you get the Sony ZV-1F. This is a good beginner friendly, budget friendly camera, might I add, because this camera, at the time when I bought it, it was $500, and now it's still $500. So economically, financially, budget friendly, you need to get this camera because it is probably one of the cheapest cameras out there right now on the market, because all these other cameras are at least 500 plus. Like, some are running at 700, some are running at 800. So money wise, this is probably a good financial investment. But overall, the Sony ZV-1F camera is a great vlogging camera and a great beginner camera for any content creator or YouTuber. If you found this review helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more tech and content creator tips.